Hello, this is Warhammer Workshop. Today I'm reviewing the Citadel Knife metal older version. This product tells a completely different story to the humble mold line remover. Naturally, because it's a knife, it's firstly not actually needed for Warhammer modelling, and secondly, you can get a million knives from a million places. What I mean to say is, with the same amount of money, £16 or whatever the amount was, you can get a better knife. But I got one a while ago, so I use it sometimes. Nevertheless, I will do an honest and fair review best I can. As always, you get the sleek black and white design regarding the packaging, and the knife itself is pure red and silver metal. The inside looks as follows, excluding the used looking tool. As you can see, with use, the red will rub off. Because the red isn't metal, it's a paint over the top of the metal, steel or iron it seems. So in terms of long-term use with regarding to preserving the quality, the tool range doesn't seem to be of the highest order. Note, no other tool has one as of yet. You get, I believe, 5 blades in these small packages, which with general use should last you months or even years, depending on the definition of general use. And this is what the inside looks like once you have removed the blades. There is a slot for the blades to go once opened, I assume, since they don't fit into the slot still packaged. As you can see, they barely fit in the box at all. I personally have not opened the blades, and I have used 2 so far. So that's with heavy use, since I don't actually use the knife for modelling, I only use it for cutting foam and such. For cutting plastic and so forth, I use my cutters and clippers, and for cutting putties and clays, I use other tools. In my experience, a knife is rarely needed for Warhammer, which makes this the most useless, shall we say, of the Citadel range. As you can see, there's 2 tab cutouts at the top, where you can take out the knife from the plastic packaging with your thumb or finger. It houses quite nicely, I must say. Now onto the knife itself, that being the cutting blade. It is very sharp, which is good, but again, that's not special for a knife. You can't quite see here, but the slider in the centre of the knife moves up and down, which retracts and releases the blade, and it locks halfway. I should note that I have had a bit of trouble making sure it locks, but once it is locked, I have had no problems with it unlocking itself. Of course, you could easily cut your finger badly if it unlocked itself while you were using it. In fact, this seems like an all-round unfriendly tool. Getting the blade on is very difficult. I had to carefully put it onto its connector. You can see part of it in the picture. And to lock it in place, mind you, it is a good connection, but to lock it in place required me to use a tool to pull the blade over the hatch. It's very strange and unsafe for anybody, old or a child or somebody generally weak or clumsy hand-wise. That's how unsafe it is. I would really only suggest it for adults, not to sound cliche or like a knife safety police. I shall now summarise the pros and cons of the Citadel knife. Pros: once locked in place, the blade seems very secure for use. Once locked in place, the blade is very stable in its housing. And third, unless you are trying very hard, the blade and knife seem very unyielding. I can't think of a 4th pro at this time. Cons: it is tricky sometimes to lock the blade in place to ensure it doesn't slide up and down in use. 2. It is very difficult to attach the blade to its housing. 3. For the quality of the knife, it is very expensive since you can spend the same amount of money and get a superior hobby knife. 4. The design of the tool is not the greatest since it's a small metal thing, you don't have the most control. 5. Unless I'm mistaken, once you have used the blades, which may only last a few months, you will have to buy the knife again because you can't buy the blades individually, unlike with some other brands, which makes the knife even more expensive. 6. Overall, it's not very safe or worthwhile considering who it's made for and what it's made for. To summarise, the product is overpriced, not safe at all, and not worthwhile. Although you do need a knife in your collection of tools, so I suggest you buy a high quality knife for around the same cost instead. I should note, of course, that once you get it all together and if you compare it to a cheap hobby knife, this is a very good product, but only if you don't compare it to a serious hobby knife. If it was not made evident prior, I will say this is one of their worst products for me, and I rather heavily stand by Games Workshop. Of course, I am not sponsored by Games Workshop or anybody else for that matter, and these are just my personal experiences with said items and based on my own knowledge or lack thereof. But my point is, you know I am being honest on this channel with these reviews, and I will always be honest. Therefore, When I praise a tool or item from Games Workshop, it's because I actually do love it, and it works perfectly for me, and I've found no serious issues with said item. Yet the same rings true for the obverse, such is the case here. Again, this is not the worst knife in the world, more so if you know what you are doing. I hope I did not under or overplay this. It's just a composition of my thoughts regarding the product at hand. In terms of improvement, I would suggest making it more user-friendly. It is 18 plus on the back of the tool, in fact, and you have to be 18 years of age in order to buy it. But that's not an excuse for making a difficult tool, of course. I'm 21 years old, and I was very careful because a mistake could easily cut your finger in half. Okay, that's without going in depth. I wanted to keep it simple, albeit verbose, and that's what I would have said before they took this tool off the shelf and brought out a newer version. So let's adjust slightly as they did, which means they were listening, but not to me, of course. The new version keeps the metal, the silver and red design, yet it is smaller and circular in shape and comes with 6 easy-to-fit blades, making it more user-friendly. However, the quality seems ironically worse, though I can't know this without testing. Nonetheless, it's not worth £18 at all, because I know for around £18 you can get a serious hobby knife of high quality and usability. Thank you for watching.